Let's move on to page number 3. We are talking about enunciation, articulation and pronunciation. What is enunciation? It is the art of pronouncing the words, and articulation is the formation of clear and distinct sounds, especially the ending words. Normally we talk in such a way where we swallow up or we say it so fast that the ending words are not very clear. The words get eaten up. So articulation is the art of pronouncing the words, especially the ending words, very properly, because a faulty enunciation and a faulty articulation will lead to a wrong pronunciation. Now, how do you get the correct pronunciation? How do you get the correct articulation? This is where the positioning of the tongue, the lips, the teeth and the jaws comes into play. There are certain words in the English alphabet for which you have to use the correct positioning of the teeth, the correct positioning of the tongue. Now, very easy for me to sit and say this. You will be wondering, how in God's name am I going to remember all this? That when I'm saying, let's say for example, when I'm saying any word with the letter P or any word with the letter V, how am I going to remember where my teeth are to be placed, where my lip is to be placed? Obviously, you can't remember that. It's not going to be practical. You can't, while talking say, oh, अभी ये V का word आ रहा है, मुझे ये मेरा tongue ऐसा रखना है, या P का word आ रहा है, I have to keep my lips like that. No, it's not practical. This is going to be instinctive and come with practice. It's like me telling you that when you are a child and you cross the road, your parents tell you that first look to the left, then look to the right, see if a car is coming, see if there's a red signal, and then walk. Or when you are a child, your parents tell you that, beta, first keep the left leg in front, now stand up, now walk like this. But as you grow older, it's all come to you very naturally, correct? Now when you cross the road, you don't, barring the occasional just checking whether the car is there, you don't really go so much checking like this, like this. You don't say, I'm putting my left leg in front, now I'm putting my right leg in front when I'm walking. It comes very naturally, very instinctively. Same thing with this. With regular practice, I repeat, with regular practice, all this is going to come to you very naturally, very easily. The manual is already there with you. It's there with you for life. So you can keep referring to it every now and then. And always, correct yourself if you feel you're going wrong. Now, let's start with some of the alphabets which are mispronounced incorrectly if you don't use the correct positioning of the tongue, lips, etc. Let's take the first P and B sounds, P and B. When you say words with a P sound, both the lips have to come together like this. A puff of air has to be released, okay? No sound like this. This sound shouldn't come, it's just joining the lips together and air. More often than not, P sounding words are mispronounced as B. P and B get very confused. So, supposing you have to say pass, you have to say it properly. Look at my lips. Pass. You may end up just saying bass. So, be very careful of how the lips are placed. Lips are joined together. I have very clearly written up here, both the lips need to come together. P. Let's practice a few of these words, starting with P. Pass. Look at my lips. Keep looking at my lips. Pass. Pin. Pen. Proceed. Express. Now, here also the word starts with an E, but there is a P in the middle. So, it's not necessary that the word has to start with a P. Any letter, any word rather, which has the letter P in it, the lips have to come together. So, it's express, experience, experience, expensive, dispute, suspend. Got it? We'll move on to the next word, T and D sounds. Now, let me go one step further here. You're going to be doing a lot of words, P and B sounds, T and D sounds, etc., etc., etc. You have to ensure that all the words are pronounced correctly. A word may have P and a word may have T, or a word may have R as well. Doesn't mean that you focus only on the P and forget how the R is pronounced or how the C and Q are pronounced. We are going to each word. Don't get confused with this. With practice, I assure you, it will come. We are now talking about the T and D sounds. What does the manual say? It says that to say words with a T sound, the tip of the tongue should be pressed firmly on the upper palate. Look at this. This is the upper palate. Tip of the tongue is placed here. T. Don't just say T. T. You get it? T. When the tongue drops, the air will gush out. So it's T. T. Don't get too bogged down by the technical aspect. Just ensure that the tongue hits the palate. T. You have to ensure that the T doesn't sound like a D. You know, so supposing I'm telling you that let's go on a trip. If I say it very fast, let's go on a trip. It may sound like drip. I may say my name is Tim, but it may sound like dim because my tongue is not resting correctly on the upper palate. Got it? So ensure that the tongue, I repeat, is on the upper palate. Let's practice saying these words. Again, the T could be at the beginning of the word, the T could be at the middle, it could be at the end, anywhere. But whenever the T comes in, the tongue goes on the upper palate. Let's practice these words. Keep practicing these words regularly and keep looking at my tongue and the palate. Taxation, timing, transaction, Tuesday, terminology, better. Even though better starts with a B, there is a T in the middle. So better, 14, repeater, literature, quitter. Got it? Let's move on to C, K, Q and G sound. What have I written in this manual? I have written that when making the C, K and Q sounds, they should be silent. Now when I say silent, what does it mean? It means that when I put the hand on the throat, when making the K sound, no movement should be felt on the throat. K, K. You get it? When making the G sound, it should not be silent. There should be some movement, some vibration. Like I say gold or just the word G, there is a little bit of vibration. Don't get too confused or bogged down by this. Just ensure that they don't sound similar. For example, when I'm saying come here, I shouldn't say it so fast or so unclearly that it sounds like gum. Or when I say, I gave my kid a kiss, it shouldn't sound like giss. Okay? Let's practice saying these words. Ka, come, collect, cover, kind, king, kick, quietly, quickly, quintessentially. What does quintessentially mean? It's important that you know the meaning of the words also besides saying it correctly. So, as far as possible, wherever I feel that there is a word which is unusual, I'll explain the meaning to you. But you must always check if you don't understand. I have an entire chapter on vocabulary in this manual, in this course. But, and you have to use the vocabulary correctly. I mean, the right word has to be used. Rich words have to be used in place of regular words. But you also have to use them in the right context. And you should know the meaning for it. Coming back to quintessentially, quintessentially means very typical. So let's say a person is always late. We say he's a quintessential latecomer. A person is always joking. We say he's the quintessential clown. You get it? How is it pronounced? Quintessentially. You can break up the word. Quint and essentially. If you're having a problem saying this word, break it up. I always say break up a word if you can't pronounce it. It's quint, essen, and then Shirley. I'm going to come to an entirely different chapter to pronounce the word Shirley, but if you can't pronounce quintessentially at one shot, practice it this way. Quint, essen, Shirley. Quintescent, quintessent, essentially, essentially, and then quintessentially. Keep breaking up the word. Any word you have a problem with, break it up into 2 or 3 components and keep practicing saying each component. Quint, 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 essen, essen, essen. Then join them. Quintessent, quintessent. Then maybe take the next 2 components. Essentially, essentially. Then again try quintessentially, quintessentially. It's not going to come with without practice. Only with regular practice it's going to come. There is also a chapter on diction. And in diction there are certain exercises where which I have made, which will help you pronounce the words properly. We'll come to that in more depth. So whenever you have a problem with your words, you can use those exercises and get the words correctly. We now come to R sounding words, the letter R. Please ensure that the R sound is not very prominent. Normally people drag the R's. R, that's not correct. So for example, It's thermal, not thermal. It's not recognize, it's recognize. Remember, this is a very common problem. We always drag the R's, which we shouldn't. Let's practice the following R sounding words: reverse, referral, rebates, record, numbers, word, discovery, rates, offerings, fraudulent. Now, whether the R, as usual, whether the R comes in the beginning, in the end, in the middle, you don't have to drag it. Whatever words we are doing, I've always told you, focus on the pronunciation, irrespective of whether that letter comes in the beginning, at the end, or in the middle. We now come to L sounding words. L. Now, if you read the manual, I'm sure the manual is in front of you. What does it say? It says L is a sound, a combination of E and L. And to say L, the tip of the tongue should touch the roof of the mouth behind the upper teeth, but the sides of the tongue should be dropped down. What does that mean? Let me give you a demo. Tip of the tongue should touch the roof of the mouth behind the teeth here. L. And my sides are going, the tongue sides are going sideways. L. 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 Again, I repeat, don't get too bogged down with all these technicalities that, oh, mera tongue ja raha hai, nahi ja raha hai. Don't get too bogged down by that. Just simple ensure that the tip of the tongue is touching the roof. L. You get it out, okay? L. Let's practice a few L sounding words. Lasting, longing, liability, lovely. Look at my tongue. Keep looking at my tongue. Now, apology. Even though the word starts with A, there is an L in it. So, when I come to L, apology, the L goes up here. Apology. Application. Billy. Cancellation. Flexibility. Florence. Now, remember here, Florence has got L also and R also. So, if I'm focusing only on the L, I may drag the R, or if I'm focusing only on the R, I may say the L wrongly. Please ensure that both are pronounced correctly. It shouldn't be Florence. No, Florence. Florence. Wrong. Florence. Got it? I'm also saying it wrongly so you get an idea of how not to pronounce the word. Let's move on to page number 4 and take TH and TH sounds. Now, TH can be a very powerful sound, okay? It's like you're saying the, a lot of emphasis is given. So, when you say words with TH, the teeth rest firmly on the tongue. The. Now, don't bite it too hard, you'll start bleeding. The. Whenever you start a sentence beginning with TH, you have to ensure that this emphasis is there. TH. So, it's like, think before you speak. This is absolute rubbish. If I'm talking something with a lot of emphasis, with a lot of power, with a lot of stress, a lot of the TH words come in. So, if, like I've given the examples up here, you are a thankless creature. Emphasis and stress have a lot of TH words in them. Use the words correctly. More importantly, pronounce them correctly. Teeth resting firmly on the tongue. The. Let's practice them. Thief. 1,000. Thanks. Thirst. Authority. Monthly. Northern. Otherwise. Myth. Path. Don't focus too much on getting the teeth, on the tongue, on the teeth. You'll get so confused, you'll make a mess of it. Just keep practicing. Practice is the key word. Keep practicing, it will come naturally, it will come instinctively. It has to come instinctively, and that can only come through practice. You can't try and remember that R aisa bolne ka hai, L aisa bolne ka hai. You'll get so bogged down, you'll make a mess of it. So practice, practice and practice. Let's move on to the next words. S and Z sounds. What does it say? When making the S sound, it should be a little quiet. You put your hand on your throat and make an S sound. There should not be any movement. Put your hand up here. S. No movement up there. But when I'm saying Z, it should not be quiet. there has to be some vibration, some movement. Z. So if I say said, not much of a vibration. Zoo, there is a vibration here on the throat. You have to ensure that S and Z is not mixed up. So let's say I went to the zoo. Where did you go? I went to the zoo. No, zoo, zoo. Z-O-O. Sue should not sound like a zoo. Zoo should not sound like a Sue. Supposing you say, I wanted to have rice for lunch. I want to have dal and rice. No, it's not rice. Rice is rising. It's rice. So ensure that the sounds are said correctly. Rice should not sound like rice. Rice should not sound like rice, or vice versa. You get it what I'm saying? Ensure that the S and Z sounds are said very distinctively. An entire chapter is devoted to this. I'll make you pronounce these in great detail by taking many words in the subsequent chapters, but just get an idea of how they have to be said. Next is SH and ZH sounding words. Again, an entire chapter is devoted to them, but just to give you a basic, the SH sound, the corners of the lips come in. It's like SH is sh, sh, sh. Any words with SH. So let's say shine, shine. Most people pronounce SH as sir. So if instead of saying shine, they'll say sign. SH में sh आना ही चाहिए. SH, sh, shine, not sign. Got it? SH. Similarly, it's ZH also. The same thing, the vocal cords will come into play. Let's take some examples. Resolution. Okay, it's R-E-S-O. Even though it's spelt as S, it's pronounced as Z. Resolution. Now, measure. It's spelled M-E-A-S-U-R-E. But the pronounce, it's S, but still you're pronouncing it as a Z. Measure. It's not measure, it's measure. So even though it's an S, you pronounce it with a Z. Let's take some practice of SH and SZ words. Like I said, an entire chapter is devoted to them. But just to give you a basic guideline, it's shop, not sop. Shop. Shoddy. Remember, sh, like that. Shoddy. Showing. Sharing. Asia. Disclosure, not disclosure, not z. Disclosure. Malaysia. Leisure or leisure, you can pronounce it either way, which means fun, recreational activities, leisure. Treasure. Customize. Customize means tailor-made. So let's say you go to get a suit stitched and you want it absolutely customized to your requirements, or you want a sofa. You don't buy this regular sofa from the shop. You want to customize it to your requirements. That is the meaning of customize, and it's customize. Get it? Next is we and were. Now, again, be very careful of this. You may wonder, oh, what big deal does it make? It's when you say the words very and well, there's a lot of difference between it. We and were are to be pronounced very differently. We is said with the upper teeth resting on the outer edge of the lower lip. Lower lip, teeth. Now don't bite it too hard. Again, like I said, you'll bleed. We. Got it? But when you say W, it's you thrust your lips forward. W. You're rounding them. W. You get it? Let's practice some V sounding words. Look at my teeth and the lip. Very. Virgin. Verification. Velocity. Verbal. Availability. Again, its word starts with A, but there is a V, so it's availability. Over. Now again, not over. R is there, so over. Privacy. You can even say privacy. Some people say privacy, that's fine. Reversal. Supervisor. Got it? V. So if you say very, it's very. But when you come to W words, like I said, thrust the lips forward. W. Thrust the lips forward and round them. W. So it's wonderful. Woman. When. What. Where. Why. Wounded. West. Web. Wall. Let's take two words, we and were together. Very and well. How would you say that? Very well. Very well, not very well, very well, very, okay? We very well. There is an entire sentence. Let's practice saying that simultaneously and see if we get the we and the were correctly. Every woman is very well when having fine wine. Got it? Every woman is very well when having fine wine. Be very distinct and be very clear when you're using the we and the were. This takes care of the different sounding words. We'll slowly move on to the next chapter. And in the next chapter, we are going to be taking words with IST, ING, ISM and ENT. That's it for this chapter. Get ready for the next chapter.